Ms. Spiraki, I would like to start with you with a question. The EU-China strategy that was published in March 2019 has the objective of introducing a shared, comprehensive China policy. But from your point of view, Ms. Spiraki, as an expert on China, how is that strategy influencing a long-term cooperation on climate change issues? And how do you assess the recent agreement on high-level dialogues for environment and climate in this context?
Once again, good morning from Brussels, and thank you for having me in this very high-profile event. I would like to say that it is crucial to underline a keyword that should be taken into consideration when we are discussing long-term cooperation of the European Union and China. And it is covering all domains, and the keyword is reciprocity. Although it is widely used in terms of trade and market access, I think that it is time to consider reciprocity also in terms of climate change agenda. And of course, it is important to protect our mutual ambitions in our planet. So, by encouraging China to meet the targets by 2060, as President Xi Jinping has already called, it is important to understand that we are encouraging the addressing of our climate targets, and of course, we working complementary with our Green Deal. In Europe, as you all know, we have already adopted the first text from the Green Deal, which includes a lot of very specific instruments. I would like just to mention three of them. The first one is the EU taxonomy legislation, which is covering the way that we have to invest in the future in a sustainable manner. And it is important to keep it in mind, because if we finally decide to go ahead with the kind of complementary policies with China, we have to understand that one of the very first steps is how can we accept the same standards in terms of funding. The second one is the climate law. It is underway, and we are now debating on this today in the plenary. And the third one is the just transition mechanism, the mechanism that we adopt in order to facilitate the transition of regions that they are fully dependent on coal. Of course, we have instruments that they are not only working in terms of internal market, but also working in terms of the relationship that we have with countries, with third countries. And one of them is the carbon adjustment mechanism, and it is again one of the instruments that it is focusing on the way that we can finally ensure a level playing field of our energy-intensive industries. Having said that, I think that we can work complementary with China. And I would like to use an example, and I think that the main example is that China is ready to adapt her ETS, emission trade system. In Europe, we have emission trade system, and now we are debating on how can we expand it by including civic sector. And allow me to speak frankly, not without having some kind of debate within member states. But it is important to say that if China finally goes ahead with her own ETS, so we will have two ETS in the world. The one that we have in Europe and the other one that we have in China. And it can work complementary. And of course, I would like to conclude by saying this, that we can also go ahead by setting common standards in terms of new technologies and promising energy carriers. And the one that I mean is hydrogen, green hydrogen. It is important to understand that if we finally decide to address our goals, not only in China, but also in the EU, we have to work together. And this is a very good start.
Well, thank you, Maria. But there's no panel these days without mentioning hydrogen, of course. We will probably hear that later on again. But you mentioned a couple of points. In which point would you say hopes are highest at the moment when it comes to talks and negotiations with China?
I think that the highest point in this regard is ETS. Because if we decide to address target at a global level, we have to expand ETS at the worldwide. So it is important to have complementary ETS. As I can understand, according to the information that I have, is now at the final level, at the very first phase, they will focus on the development of market infrastructure. At the second phase, they foresee a simulation trading. It is approximately the same model that we have in the EU. And the third phase is how China could depend and expand the allowances that we are trading in the EU as well. So it is important to have complementary emission trade system in order to address Paris Agreement targets. And allow me to mention something that it is related to the US election. As you maybe know, the ratification of the withdrawal of the US of Paris Agreement will take place at November 4th. So we have to wait for the outcome of the US election as well.